Hello and welcome. We are playing Swords Without Master, part of Anti-GenCon 2014. I am Aaron Fields. I play a lot of games. I run a lot of games. I am I run like games in the bar for Indie Plus, and this is not really an Indie Plus thing, but just something we're doing for fun. So why don't we introduce everybody? Andrea?
I'm Andrea. I mostly just play a lot of games. I'm not so big on GMing. This is the first time I'm playing this setting, so our poor overlord will over something will have to bear with me.
Yeah. Okay, Michael?
Hi, I'm Michael S. Miller. I run games, I play games, I've run games on Hangouts before. I do a little publishing games as Incarnate Nine Press, and I haven't played Service Without Master before, and I'm not, I haven't quite wrapped my head around it, so this is going to be interesting.
All right, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm Ryan. I've also never played Swords Without Master before. I've heard a lot about it, read a lot about it, and I'm looking forward to trying it out. Um, uh, Relatively inexperienced as far as gaming goes, probably compared to a lot of people, but you know, I like to get it in when I can. So, looking forward to tonight.
Cool. Fellas?
Hey, I'm Velas. I play a lot of games and fun games, but usually not on Hangouts. This is also my first time playing Swords Without Master.
Yes. Bunch of newbies. Excellent. So, I'm going to do my best to explain the game. Um, it is kind of a tricky game to wrap your head around at first. It's very different from a lot of traditional games. Um, the key thing is that it's at heart it's a storytelling game, and uh, we are just working together to create the best sword and sorcery tale that we can. And so have mostly created our characters, um, and when we start playing, the game basically takes place in three different phases. So that is the perilous phase, which is where uh, let's see. Perilous phase is where um, the rogues and all the things that are important to them are in some kind of danger. So it could be battle, could be a some kind of social situation, could be anything really. But there's some kind of danger that the rogues are reacting to um, and trying to overcome. And the next phase is called the discovery phase. This is where the rogues are trying to figure out where to go or what to do. There's some questions in the air somehow. And the last phase is called the uh, the rogues phase, and this is where the rogues just get to do what the rogues do best. Uh, they get to, uh, wander the world, explore intriguing situations, um, show off their flaws, and we're gonna go, back and forth through these various phases. There's no like set way to do it. So we could have a perilous phase followed by a uh, a rogues phase and back to a perilous phase, or we could do two discovery phases in a row perhaps. Whatever makes sense. So that's the basics of the game. Before we go into each phase, I'm gonna roll some dice, and we have two dice here. One being the jovial die. So this represents the jovial tone, and this represents the glum tone. And uh, So at the start of every phase, I, as the overplayer, will roll this, and whichever die comes up higher, that's the tone that we're gonna. It's called the overtone that everybody starts narrating in. So these two tones, jovial means vibrant, passionate, seized, spellbound, mirthful, cheerful, aggressive, familiar, hot. It's kind of open to interpretation exactly what that means, but basically, when jovial is overtone, we'll all be describing that, and then glum can also be cool, introspective, moody, or still, eerie, sorrowful, strange, beckoning, and these tones don't really limit what you describe, like what you can do. It's more like how you describe whatever you're doing. So at the start of each phase, I'll roll for the overtone. Then I will pass off the dice to another player, and depending on which phase we're in, they'll roll the dice, or they can hang on to them for a while, and eventually they'll roll them, and then they'll have, based on what they roll, they'll have their own tone that they narrate in. It could match the overtone, or it could be the other one. So I don't want to get too in depth, but I'll just go through how each of the phases works really quick, and then we can pick our tricks of the trade and introduce our characters. So the perilous phase, I'm going to roll for the overtone as usual. Then and I'm going to set a scene, and it's totally up to me where you guys are, what your rogues are doing, what condition they're in. They could be tied up somewhere. They could be, traveling somewhere. They could be in trouble, maybe not. And then when I pick up the dice, that indicates that the last thing I just said is the thunder. So I'll say, oh, you're traveling through the desert on horseback, and the sun is beating down, and it's nice and quiet. There's nary a sound to be heard, except a vulture spirals overhead. And then I'll pick up the dice. That means that vulture spiraling overhead is the thunder. That means something about that vulture is going to come and be important and be dangerous to you guys. Then I'll pass the dice to a rogue, and at that point I'll bring the storm, and I'll say, oh, all these terrible things start happening, right? The vulture is a sign that you are approaching an army, and as you're spotted, the scouts of this army start attacking you, and et cetera, et cetera. And at this point, you guys can try to overcome it or struggle against it, or you can slip and maybe begin to fail, or you can succumb entirely. But the person with the dice, until the person with the dice rolls the dice, all you can do is slip and struggle, right? You can't overcome it quite. Once I continue bringing the storm and you can't stand it anymore, then you can roll the dice, and in that tone that you rolled for, describe how you're overcoming or succumbing to the storm, whatever it is. Once you're done narrating, and maybe you dispatch the storm or maybe you don't, maybe there's still some danger left, then you pass it to a different rogue. And once again, they can hold onto the dice or roll it whenever they're ready, and then they can overcome or succumb or do whatever. It's their turn to narrate, basically. We keep going around like that until the storm is dealt with. So the discovery phase, I'll roll for the overtone and set the scene again. And when I pick up the dice, there'll be that indicates there's some thunder. But rather than the storm coming right away, I'll I'll pass the dice to somebody, and they'll roll the dice immediately, and then they can say something that the rogue knows, or something that they just found out, something that they just discovered. And then they can ask me as the overplayer a loaded question about that thing. So for example, you could say something like, I know a ship that will take us as far south as we wish. What vile price will the captain ask of us, right? Then I'll have to tell you what price that is. So this is kind of your chance to show off that your rogue is a smarty pants, or that they're really good at figuring stuff out, and also introduce something into the narrative, right? You can say they discover whatever you want, and this is kind of giving the story a new direction of what you want to see. And then you can basically, we pass the dice around until I decide that we have enough to go on. And the rogues phase is where I'll set up, roll for the overtone, set up the scene, and pick up the dice, and I'll make a demand of somebody. So I'll pass the dice to you, and I'll say, "Show us how you blank." So I could say, for example, "Show us how you managed to steal his sword unnoticed." And you immediately, you immediately roll the dice and then describe to us how you do that thing, and answer it. And then when you're done narrating, you pick up the dice and you pass them to somebody else, and you make a demand of them, right? So if I pass to Andrea, for example, and make a demand of her, she gets to narrate whatever she wants, however she answers that question, and then she picks up the dice and makes a demand of Velis, for example. And then we keep going around like that until somebody says, "Oh, let's do a different phase now." Anybody can request that we move on. Okay, so we have the perilous phase, where you're in trouble and you're slipping and struggling, and the person with the dice can roll it and start to overcome or show how they give in to the storm. We have the discovery phase, which is your chance to introduce something into the story that you know or that you just found out, and then ask questions, leading questions about it. And the rogues phase, where you get to show off how you're really good at doing stuff, and you get to make demands of the other rogues, and show how you're doing, help them show off what their rogue is really good at. So any questions about that?
Not yet.
It's a lot of info, and it'll become more clear as we get into it. Okay, but now you have enough to pick a trick for your rogue, and so there's a bunch of different tricks. Tricks are basically your rogue's kind of a special way that you can take over the story. Some of them let you ignore, request a certain phase. Normally, I just pick what phase we're going to go to. It's like, oh, now we're going to go discover stuff, or now it'll be a perilous phase. But some tricks say you get to say what phase is next. Some let you mess with the overtone.
Do you want to
Some let
explain
you
what the
come up with
overtone
the
is?
thunder. Okay,
I don't
so
know that you
before,
explain what the overtone is, Aaron.
yeah. So the overtone, with every new phase, before the phase starts, I'll roll the dice, and whichever die comes up higher, right? So if I roll a 4 on the jovial die and a 2 on the glum die, that means it's going to be a jovial overtone. And that's the tone that everybody will describe their stuff happening in, right? Until they roll the dice and get their own tone. But until they roll, everybody's going to follow the overtone, including me. So it just dictates kind of how you're supposed to describe what's going on, how you describe your actions. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Maybe not. It's okay. It'll become clear once we get into it.
Right.
But
So
for now, pick
I
a.
grabbed the locust trick, which lets me define a location that we'll use.
Cool. A locus. So you should write that down. And cool. It's a good one.
All right.
Or if you don't know what trick you want, you can always wait and pick it later on after we get some examples of how this thing works.
I'm thinking ill fate
Okay.
would work well with my character.
Ill fate. So that says write down a lesson. May ignore one roll just made and instead hit the overtone to suffer a moral. The consequence that leads to this lesson. Yeah, so I'll go over the various threads. But basically, with certain dice results, you'll have to come up with a moral, which is some unintended consequence and some lesson that could have been learned from it, or a mystery, which is some something blocks your action somehow, and you write a question about why that happened.
All right. I'm going to take adroit prowess.
Okay.
And that gives me an astounding capability. Before the overplayer chooses a new phase, I may demand that it's a rogue's phase, that the overplayer opens with a demand that highlights this feature of mine.
Nice. Cool.
And I guess I will take Omen.
Omen. Write down a
Bitch.
thunder. Nice. Some ill-portent or distant threat. Cool. You can demand a particular thunder is coming. Alright. And let's see, we need one more, right? True prowess. Omen.
I think we all chose.
Oh, who's playing Jonah?
I have ill fate.
Oh, ill fate. Okay.
And question about
Cool.
that.
Yeah.
It says write down a lesson. Is that something I write down after?
No, you write it down right now before we begin play,
Right now.
and
Okay.
then you can basically guarantee that it's going to show up in the story. So whatever you want to see. Okay.
Be right back.
All right. Cool. Well, we'll wait for Velis, but we're basically ready to go after this.
So does the lesson relate to the moral that?
Yes.
All right.
Basically,
The moral has to. All right. I'm just trying to kind of process that a little bit.
okay, yeah. So basically, when you roll a certain result on the dice, when you roll both dice are less than 3, but it's not doubles. Basically, is when you're gonna have some unintended consequence to your action, and then you'll have to come up with a moral uh, about that action that you took. So basically, a moral and a lesson are it's the same thing. So you just come up with something that like, let's see.
I'm thinking something about
Yeah.
overconfidence.
Okay. Cool.
Not sure. I'm just wondering how to word it, but let's see.
All right. Yeah. Word it like this is something you should do. You know, do this. Always do this thing.
Avoid
That's the
overconfidence.
Or overconfidence is an invitation to ruin, or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could work. Cool. All right. So let's go through and I wonder if I can do this. Maybe. Let's go through and introduce everybody's character, starting with Chromis.
Yeah, I'm playing Chromis, who wields the sword Baird and is running away from a barbarian warlord named Edison. Should I say anything more, or should I just...
Mm. Whatever you want. Whatever you want us to know.
Yeah, so I imagine Chromis is some sort of spell sword. The sword he wields is imbued with magic, which he is able to activate to verify an effect.
Awesome. Okay. What about Oshala the Hexed?
Okay. My character is Oshala the Hexed. All that deserves a name is Onyx, the powerful, ever-hungry spirit that is bound into her left hand and her unyielding will. The Order of the Unblinking Flame, an arcane order whose arts I have learned, but whose precepts I scorn. Ujai the Swift, the brother who has disowned me the day I bound our ancestral spirit Onyx into my flesh.
Nice.
Oshala's feats heroic. Glum, clutching my ebon fist until crimson streaks begin to snake down my arm, I utter the curse of doom upon that which bars my path. And Jovial, filling the tavern with the song of my exploits, no one notices as my fellows make off with the prize roast boar.
Awesome.
Yes.
And Layla?
Lale.
Lale?
Yeah. Lale is she wields a sword called Jahajir, and she has it's a pet slash mount. It's a dragon that's capable of changing size. It has wings, but it can't fly. It just kind of glides, or can fly very, 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 very short distances. She's at odds with her sister, who's a sorcerer named Arzu, and she hails from a people who are kind of known for their fearlessness in battle, which is where her glum comes from. It's somber and determined. The ancient battle hymns of her people fill her ears. These are sad songs, dirges created to drown out the sounds of battle and send her people to their deaths in peace. And for Jovial, I put a joyful laugh, a sharp caustic caw that reminds the ear of the clash of swords and ring of metal in the heat of battle. And I think that's it.
Nice. And we have Jonah.
Yes, Jonah is the estimated prophet. He's always known he was special. when he was old enough to learn of such things, he realized that he was sort of an implement of the gods and could sort of draw power from them. The problem has been that it's not been witnessed by a lot of the people around him, so he's always kind of been an outcast, sort of an outsider. So he feels that he has been misunderstood, and the things that are really important to him are his tone, his cantos, the words of the gods that have spoken through him, his image. He believes that he is a certain way and feels like people don't understand that that way, and his power, which is fickle. It comes when it does, and he can't really use it on command.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So we're going to start with a perilous phase. I'm going to roll the overtone right now. Me. Let's see. So I rolled a 6 on the jovial die and a 3 on the glum die, which means we're going to kick it off with the jovial overtone. And I think to keep track of the overtone, I'll just hold up this little card and flip it when necessary. So
You don't want to use the lower third?
unfortunately, it's not working for me at the moment,
Okay.
so it's fine. So let's see. You are jovial. Yes. So you're in a trekking through the rainforest, and you have heard rumor of an ancient temple deep within the rainforest, full of all kinds of treasures, both secular and religious treasures. Supposedly, the people who used to worship here were quite powerful. And as you're heading through this hot, extremely humid rainforest, liquid starts dripping from the trees above you and the foliage overhanging the path, dripping down onto your heads. So I'm going to pick up the dice, meaning that liquid dripping down is the thunder. And I'm going to hand the dice to, let's see, Lale. So you hold on to those dice until you can't take the storm anymore and you want to react and you want to overcome it, or describe how you succumb if you want. In the meantime, while she's holding the dice, everybody else is still in the scene and you can describe what you're doing, but your only options are to slip or to struggle, but not quite overcome or succumb. All right? So through from out of the jungle come swinging these monkeys, and in fact, a couple of them drop down from above, and they leap onto you and bare their fangs, and a few of them run up and start grabbing your items in your backpacks and trying to run off into the jungle with them. The others, a couple leap upon your head, see, I need to get your names in front of me. Okay. Uh, both Oshala and Chromis are suddenly find themselves blinded as a monkey lands on your head and starts scratching at your eyes and screeching and howling and almost like riding you like a mount.
Yeah, I think that that monkey actually like threw my cloak over my face to blind me,
Nice.
and I'm like desperately trying to unclasp my cloak while walking around blindly in this jungle.
And
Right.
this, yeah,
Oh, and the monkey has actually grasped onto my hair and is almost like tied it into a, not quite tied it, but almost tied it into like a blindfold in front of my eyes.
nice, yes. And they keep, banging on your heads. In the meantime, it seems more of this liquid from above is pouring down, and you suspect maybe there's some creature up there that is the source of this liquid. And let's see, Lale and Jonah, you are getting slimed, and this liquid is it's hot. It seems warm warm on your head and warm on your hand as you touch it. And the monkeys, it seems to drive the monkeys into a fury as they keep leaping onto you and screeching at you and grabbing and scratching and trying to tear your clothes from your body even.
Yeah, I'm calling to Lay muffled through my cloak. I'm like, I know I still owe you for last time, but do you think you can help me out with this? And I'm swinging my sword in front of me blindly.
Nice. So your sword, actually, you're trying to cut through this monkey, and you're blindly cutting through a bunch of foliage, and your sword gets stuck in a tree, into some kind of banana tree or rubber tree or something, some tree here, and the
I think I've struck some sort of giant.
yes, indeed. Let's see. Lale, you as you're paying distracted by these monkeys, paying attention to the monkeys, uh, you you realize that the ground has sort of starting to soften under your feet, and the path that you guys were following is almost melting away and turning into this river of slime and goop. And
Oh no.
your feet are getting swallowed up by this river, and you're sinking even into your shins now. And what do you do?
I'd better do a thing. Did you say earlier when you were talking about the important things that other players have control over them or something? Or did I make that up?
No, they can describe your named things, but you have control over it. So not without your permission, basically.
Okay.
Your
Okay.
your character and the things that you named on the character sheet are under your control, basically, in the narrative. So other people need your permission to use them.
Okay.
All right?
Okay. So I'm going to
like-
roll dice,
Okay.
right?
Yep. Any time you want.
Now, please. Okay.
Okay.
So
And by the way, when she rolls the dice, then I stop bringing the storm. I stop narrating, and it's totally up to Lale and Andrea how she wants to narrate from there on. And you have complete carte blanche, except when it comes to the other people's named things, right? So go for it.
okay. So I rolled glum, I think.
Yeah. Right on.
Okay. So, Lale takes hold of a vine that was kind of hanging over the path and manages to free it enough that it swings her over the pit of quicksand or whatever that is in the path, and she scurries up the vine, knocking monkeys off her as she goes, and comes face to face with this gaping maw that's kind of dribbling this sweet, sticky, monkey frenzy-inducing saliva over the group, and it's been emerging further and further down towards the party. So as she comes face to face with it, there's no hesitation. She sees a very, very big tongue and very, very big teeth and a very big dark space in between, and shoves her sword through its, basically through the back of its throat.
Very cool. All right. Now, you let's see. Okay, so now, so when you're done, you pick up the dice, basically, and you can still keep holding on to them, and I'll continue bringing the storm, right? And everybody slips and struggles as they will. Whenever you want, you can pass the dice to another player, and they can continue holding them, or they can roll them whenever they want to interrupt and do their own thing. All right. If you, on the other hand, if you want the phase to end, if you feel like, oh, we've overcome it, then you can hand the dice back to me as the overplayer, and we'll go to a new phase. Now, it's totally possible to end the phase without actually overcoming the threat, in which case I might just say, oh, let's do another perilous phase, or now let's do a rogues phase, or whatever. But it's up to me how I frame the next phase. So it kind of depends on when you end it is how I'm going to frame it, kind of deal. Okay. So so these monkeys, you shove your sword into this beast's mouth, but it just clamps down around it. It writhes in pain, and blood spurts out all over you, but it still clamps down on your sword and yanks it away. And the saliva down below is still causing these monkeys to go wild. But let's see, Jonah. You realize in all this commotion and chaos, you hear some chanting, and it actually it sounds not exactly familiar, but it sounds like some sort of spell or some some words of significance. Almost like a twisted version of your own chanting.
Can I pass the dice to him now?
You may, indeed. And you hear, it's not too far in the distance, this strange language, and the chanting it's strange. It's quite loud, and you're not sure how you missed it before. But at the same time, it's subtle, and it's almost like it's avoiding detection somehow. And then a monkey comes and grabs onto your backpack and yanks you to the ground, and sits on top of you and starts pushing your head down into the saliva. And the rest of you, including even Lalaise, up in among these vines, these monkeys grab an important item of yours, and they start screeching, and they start like trying to eat whatever it is they've grabbed. So maybe
yes, it's real gold. You'll see.
Your sword or your wineskin or whatever.
Yeah, they grabbed my wineskin. That was like the only nice thing I own. Because even though I've got a black cloak, it's all patchy and filled with holes. But now they've got my wineskin, they're getting drunk.
Yeah, and you know, the fangs of
Probably
these
going
monkeys
on the
just
ground though.
rip into it. What's that?
I said most of the wine's just probably going on the ground though.
Yes, yeah. He's obviously he's not interested in drinking. He's just tearing it apart. Um, and
Yeah, so I was I mean I hear this chanting while these monkeys are attacking us,
mhm.
and that's definitely disconcerting and all, and maybe distracting for a second. But there's obviously more pressing matters to attend to. So I want to call upon the gods of the wind to
Okay. Um,
view their power into me.
cool, cool. All right. So, are you rolling the dice now to take over the narration, or are you just slipping and struggling some more?
Um, sure, I'll roll the dice. Why not?
Okay, cool.
That looks like jovial to me. 5/3.
Okay, cool. 5 for jovial. Sweet. So go ahead. It's totally up to you. Where you want to take it.
All right, so I
Just
call upon the
try
gods
to
of the
hit
wind,
that tone somehow.
and really, I'm just trying to create some sort of separation between this slimy, sticky stuff and the monkeys and our persons. Um, so, um, trying to think, it wouldn't be like an incantation or maybe like a motion or sort of more of a mental like concentration thing
Mm,
where all of a sudden out of nowhere, even out of the ground, it feels like there's like a high powered um, wind just kind of separates these threats from our immediate um, um, from immediately next to us. Maybe gives us
mm,
some separation.
mm.
Now,
Okay. If you're done, you should pick up the dice, and then you can hold on to them or pass them to somebody. If you pass them to me, the phase is over. If you pass them to somebody else, they can, you know, roll when they want. Um,
I don't think we've quite really overcome this thing. It may be temporarily knocked back, but maybe I should look at the other characters to see who is best equipped to to maybe help.
okay.
Tool is good.
So in the meantime, I'll continue bringing the storm, and anybody can jump in and you know, struggle against it, or
Oh, right, right. I forgot about that. So, yeah. So there's monkey still hanging off my hair as I'm slipping and sliding in the rapidly liquefying path. Um, and I bring up my black left hand and am trying to clutch the beast from my face. And every time I do, another of those big frond green leaves keeps slapping in between, and I grab the leaves and they wither in my grasp, but I can't get the monkey.
yes,
And then I slip and I have to catch myself with my left hand, and then um, the,
yes.
uh, the path begins to sizzle and bubble where it lands.
So cool. Um, the the chanting grows louder, and you all begin hearing it now. And even though the you've all sort of floated up um, out of the saliva, and the monkeys seem to be keeping their distance from you now. This this chanting grows louder and louder, and you see coming down the path now a what looks to be a native inhabitant of this jungle. Um, he he looks like several of the other people you've seen. You know, he's wearing the sort of similar dress to the other locals you've encountered around the area. But atop his head, he is wearing a big headdress made of these rainforest plant leaves and you know, different fronds and stuff, a whole variety. And he seems to be floating over the path and over the saliva. And he comes up to you and stops chanting. As he stops, he falls to the ground. And at that point, he points. He raises a hand towards Oshala. And Oshala is frozen in place. And Oshala, you find yourself steadily walking towards this man. And he has a very creepy expression on his face. It's not quite understandable. You can't quite figure out what his intention is behind this face. But he is absolutely, you know, using some kind of sorcery on you.
Oh, okay. So,
just point of order right now. So
yeah.
Ryan still has the dice, right? So you can continue hanging on to those, but just nobody can progress until you hand the dice to somebody else, right? And you could hand it back to Andrea or to anybody, if you want.
I think Chromis might be able to address the situation with his sword authority.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm not rolling the dice yet, but
Okay, cool.
as I float up, I don't let go of my sword. It's still wedged in the tree, so I'm now upside down, floating in midair. And my cloak finally falls down with the monkey like hanging on the ends. And I'm just kicking my feet wildly in the air, just not able to really accomplish anything right now.
All right. So let's see.
Gold coins are jingling from many hidden pockets in my clothing,
Nice.
falling
So,
into the mud.
Laleh,
Yes.
this creature that had bitten your sword is apparently dead, or at least it stopped struggling, and you're able to extract your hand with your sword still in grip. And as it plops to the ground, you can clearly see that this man who is chanting and you know, wearing this crazy leafy headdress, he looks up. You know, he's pointing at Oshala, but he looks up into the trees and it looks directly at you, and it seems to you, with this strange expression on his face, that he is reading your mind somehow, and you have a compulsion, you have a sudden urge that you should go and see him.
Yeah. Well,
Awesome.
He needs your help.
well, I'm
He
calling.
does.
Having that in mind, I'm calling to Oshala and saying, if I help you now, will you forgive my debts?
I think I'm just staring at this guy, and you can see my brows knit in concentration, but I'm not moving at all, other than my left hand had gone down and had caught me in the mud, and so it's completely coated with mud. and every ounce of strength and willpower I have is going to just try and bit by slow bit flick the mud off to be able to reveal the spirit energy underneath.
I'll take that as a yes.
Yeah, the concept. Nice.
Oh, I tied with 3 or less. I got
Okay.
2s.
So there's I'm going to introduce a new mechanic then. Certain dice results mean you have to create a thread. All right. So, well, I should explain stymies first. So, first of all, whenever the dice tie, that means your rogue is stymied. Something goes wrong, and you're unable to accomplish whatever you were about to do. So in the perilous phase, let's see, it's up to you to figure out what that means, what's going wrong for you. You get to describe, how your foe is getting the best of you, stuff like that, which just means that it'll be all the more glorious for you when you finally defeat them, if you do. And so, in other phases, a stymie can mean other things, but that's how it works in the perilous phase. Now, on top of getting a tie on the dice for a stymie, if you roll both dice and they're both 3 or less on the dice, then you have to create a thread. It's either a moral or a mystery. A moral means, a mystery is when the dice are tied and both are 3 or less. So double ones, double twos, double threes. That means not only is it a stymie, but the source of that stymie is unknown to you. It's some mystery. You don't know why you're not able to do what you're trying to do. So on our Google Doc here, you're going to have to write a question about the nature of the mystery. But you still, describe as normal whatever you're trying to do and how it's going wrong, and then you're going to write a question about it. And if both dice are 3 or less and it's not a tie, so it's like a 1-2 or whatever, it's not a stymie, so you do get to do whatever thing you want it to do, but there will be an unintended consequence to it that leads to a moral or a lesson that could be learned from it. And you're free to come up with that consequence and describe whatever you want. However, if I don't think your consequence is bad enough, then I can go ahead and make an even worse consequence, or I can introduce a consequence if you didn't, kind of deal.
Does the overtone flip too?
Yeah, so whenever we roll a stymie, which is tied dice, then the overtone is going to flip as well. So now the overtone is glum. Okay, so moral, mystery. All right, there's actually a third kind of thread, which I should introduce right now, which is not tied to the dice. It's called motif. And whenever you hear something, some piece of description, or some object, or whatever, whenever another player says something that you really like, I want you to record that as a motif. And we're going to fill out the first 3 details that we write down are going to be our first motif, right? They can be whatever. Once we have 3 there up at the top, then we can start on the second motif. And we need 3 details there, and at least one of those has to echo something from the first motif. So we're going to sort of work in a detail. Could be like a similar image. It doesn't have to be the exact same thing, but just something that recalls one of the first details we wrote down. Finally, once we have 3 there, then we have a third motif, and we're going to need 3 details, and one of those must recall something from the first or second motif. Okay? And I should note that once we have all 3 motifs completely filled out, then that'll trigger the end game, and we'll do we'll get into that when we get there, basically. But in the end game, we'll be working in all the previous threads. So we'll go and revisit. We'll reintroduce motifs, mysteries, and morals, and sort of tie up some of these lingering questions and stuff like that. All right. Any questions about how threads work?
I think I've got it. You can correct me if I mess it up or anything.
Yeah, and I'll try to point it out. But do let me know if you roll 3 or less on both dice, or if you roll a tie. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, so this is a
It's a mystery.
you rolled a stymie, and it's going to be some mystery.
Yeah. So just as I right myself in the air, so I'm upright again, magic begins coursing through my sword into my arm, like magical energy. And the jungle sorcerer, seeing this, frowns and looks up to the beast above. It lets go of what was her name? Lale?
Yeah.
Or Lale. Lets go of Lale's sword, only to move swifter than we could have imagined and swallowing me entirely.
Whoa.
The mystery is, of course, what connection is there between the sorcerer and the giant beast. And I'm handing the dice to you, the overplayer, right now.
Okay. Cool. So that means this perilous phase has ended, and now it is up to me to decide what phase we're going to do next. And I think let's move into a rogues phase. Okay. So how this is going to work? I'm going to roll the dice for the overtone, and I'm going to set up the scene, introduce a thunder, and pick up the dice, and then I'll make a demand of somebody and pass them the dice, and you just roll immediately and tell us you answer that demand. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so I rolled 4 there. So we're going to go jovial, and I'm going to pass the dice to Jonah, and I'll ask, show us how you open communication with this sorcerer.
Oh, so you're continuing in the same setting as the previous scene?
Yeah. So, oh, sorry, I forgot to do the thunder. That's right. The thunder is Veles just got swallowed by this big slug beast. So that's the thunder. So
I can see that.
so Jonah, show us how you start communicating with this sorcerer, and
Well,
you're gonna roll the dice immediately.
Okay, roll the dice.
Tone.
6 on jovial, 3 on glum.
Okay, so it's jovial for you.
Very jovial. So obviously it's telepathically, right? We lock eyes, and I don't know if you guys have read the Dresden Files, but it's kind of like the soul gaze of the wizard, where I know pretty much everything about him, and he knows pretty much everything about me. And I learned that they're actually, well. Like how much story control do I have here? Like
You have all of it, buddy.
Okay, so
except when it comes to the named things of other players, you just
Okay.
have to ask if you can use their stuff.
Sure. Well, I learned that like I want to kind of solve this mystery as far as I figured he would know what the connection with the beast is, right? Um,
Sure.
the beast actually doesn't digest the people he eats. He brings these people to this tribe to um, for them to actually perform rituals on, and in turn they grow him food. He's a vegetarian, so um, they grow him food, and he brings them new subjects for their rituals.
Okay. Um, okay, so you pass the dice to another player and make a demand of them. You can pass the dice to the overplayer and make a demand of me as well, if you want to get some information about the setting or about some other character that's not one of the rogues.
Okay, and a demand that I would make of another player would be
So it takes the form of show us how you blank. So show us how you do this, or show us maybe show us what you bring to this
all right.
fight, or whatever you want to see.
Vela, show us. Wait, what's your character's name? Sorry.
Promise.
Promise. Promise. Show us how you get out of the belly of this beast.
Nice.
Nice.
And I roll immediately.
Yes, roll immediately and describe your answer in that tone. Try to hit that tone somehow.
Oh, 5 glum.
Okay.
So, let's see. There's a pause as everybody watches the horror of this beast finally emerge into plain sight. Um, you can see that it's actually somewhat transparent, and you can see the silhouette of Chromis, like writhing and struggling inside the beast's. I guess we can call it a stomach, even though it doesn't actually have a normal digestive tract. And you can see Chromis's sword, Verd, pierce the side of the beast and open it up, blood gushing out in stinking torrents. And I emerge miserably and slowly from the inside.
Okay. So when you're done, pick up the dice and pass them on and make a demand of somebody else.
Yeah, I'll pass it. I'll pass it over to Lale, and I want to see. Show us how you get the upper hand on the jungle sorcerer.
How
That was
dramatic.
perfect timing.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
That was really good timing.
Oh, our jungle sorcerer disappeared.
All right. Yes, continue.
Okay. Our oh, dice. Gotta roll the dice. Okay, that is glum again.
Okay.
So Lele, almost like the monkeys that had been attacking them, kind of uses the branches of the trees and the vines to kind of follow that compulsion to aid the sorcerer. And she drops down kind of beside him and turns with her hands on her weapon, and looks like she is about to back him up. And then as he kind of triumphantly turns his attention to the rest of the group, her eyes lift and she sees Shireen, her dragon, um, being attacked and gnawed upon by one of the vicious monkeys. And something in her just sort of snaps, and her sword is thrust into the sorcerer's spine.
Ooh.
Apparently that's going to be a thing with me.
The right genre for it.
Yep. So, and as he stumbles forward, this kind of black ichor kind of comes out of his mouth and out of the wound, and I will pass it on to. You still there, Ryan?
He stepped out for a moment.
Okay. I will pass it on to. Oh my gosh, who can deal with black ichor? Let's go back to.
I should point out as well, while I chose to set this, start the phase like right after our previous phase, that's not necessary, and we can jump around and flashback, or you can jump forward to another point in time if you want. So so while we can just keep going moment to moment, feel free also to ask a question about later on in the adventure or something. It's basically up to you where you want to take it.
Okay.
Oh,
so
I'm gonna make add a detail to our motif of the sword being thrust, or the black ichor coming from a sword wound.
Okay. So I guess I'll pass it back to our overplayer.
Okay.
And do I just ask you a question, or do I make a demand of you?
You make a demand. So show us how blank is happening, and you can demand stuff that even maybe your rogues wouldn't even know it. Like, show us what this guy's friends, how this guy's friends hear of his death or whatever.
That's actually exactly what I was going to ask.
Okay, cool. So let's see. So I'll go ahead and roll the dice. I got a glum high, if you will, 5 glum. So the sorcerer's friends are hanging out at the temple, and or some of them at least are hanging out at the temple, and we see several of them are chanting and observing through a pool of water. There's like a waterfall that comes from the ceiling of the temple and drips down into a large pool right in the middle. And several of these holy men are chanting and looking into the pool. And the pool is actually showing around the outer edges where the waterfall splashes are lessened around the edges. They're actually looking and seeing your group there, and seeing their friend, calling to you and trying to communicate with you. And they see you thrust the sword, and then the image disappears from the pool. And they begin wailing and collapsing in grief. And some of them get some of them, however, remain silent and simply walk out of the central worship room. Okay, I'm gonna make a demand of, let's see, What is your... Oh yeah, Oshala. Oshala, show us how you lead the other rogues to this temple and your goal.
Okay.
And go ahead and roll the dice first.
Okay. Yeah, I used the dice tree map. So the left one is the glum, and the right one is the jovial.
Okay,
So
that works.
It means I hit jovial. How I lead them to the temple. Um, so the 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 jungle sorcerer, leaking black ichor, collapses in front of Lale, and uh, as he does, um, my torpor is broken, and all that energy I was putting into just trying to twitch my fingers before lashes out, and I shake the mud from my hand, and say, "Oh, not that quickly will you escape my wrath!" And I reach out into midair and grasp his soul as it flees his body,
Oh.
and uh, draw it close, uh, and I think um, the rest of you can sort of see its shaded form as I grip it around the throat, and um, I'll say, "Cowards like you never work alone. Uh, you will lead me to your companions, and we will end this foolishness, and only then will I let you go to rest better than that which you deserve." Um, and the shade slowly, shakily, raises its hand and uh, points its way through the forest. Um, and so uh, I lead us through the rainforest. And uh, we come out, and there is the temple. Um, the It's actually there's a cliffside and very narrow opening. No more than one person can walk through at a time, but the two sides of the cliff are carved with um, ancient um, ancient myths. Not all of them entirely about humans. Um, and these are the places that we have to squeeze through to get into the inner sanctum of the temple, uh, where the sorcerers uh, are wailing and mourning the death of their companion, um, whom I let go before I step between the pillars. And now I have to pass the dice.
Cool.
Right?
Okay. So yeah, we can keep going around and make demands of people. At any time, anybody can say, "Oh, let's end this phase here." So whatever you want to do. I'm cool to keep it going if you want. I'm digging it.
Yeah. Um, yes. So I'm going to pass the dice to uh, Jonah, the prophet, and I'm going to ask you to show us uh, what how your ability to read these glyphs carved into the cliff sides uh, helps us in our struggle against these foul priests.
Cool. Oh, actually, but before we continue, I do want to introduce one more quick rule.
Okay.
This is, I think this completes all the rules that we need to know. So your feats heroic that you wrote down, you wrote one for glum and one for jovial, and at any time, um, you can after you roll the dice, you can decide to ignore those dice and use one of your feats heroic instead. So you ignore the dice result and instead incorporate your glum feat heroic and work that into the story to what you're doing, or your jovial one. So this is a way to like avoid a stymie or whatever. Or if you just don't like the result that you got, you want to kind of do it your own way. Um, so does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
Could be me.
And once you use it, then I mean you can only do it once per session basically. All right. Cool. So yes, Jonah.
All right, so I got glum on my roll.
Okay.
Trying to think how that will work in our favor at all. So let me see.
Well, it isn't necessarily a happy story that you read carved into the walls.
Yes, and keep in mind you can do whatever you want, right? And you can narrate whatever you want is happening plot wise. The tone is more about just how you describe what's going on.
Right.
So, you know,
Okay. So I learned the purpose of these rituals is is to actually steal the souls of these captives and actually use it in order to increase the not the profit. They don't really understand profit. The increase the condition, improve the conditions. The more souls that they can capture and put to this process, the better that their lands produce for them, the better hunting, better weather. It really just makes their lives all around better. But the other side of that, of course, the one side, is that these souls are trapped in the temple and actually infused into each brick that makes it. Um, I'm supposed to be talking about how this helps us, though, aren't I?
Yes.
Well, it turns out that there is a way to release these souls, and that is by stopping the cascading the waterfall that is coming into this temple.
I like that.
Oh, nice.
Okay. I'm gonna suggest that we end the phase here. Cool.
Okay. Yes.
All right. So I'll take the dice back, and do we want to take a break here, maybe?
Sure.
Couple minutes, and come back to it, and we'll move on to the next phase. Right? Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, hey Andrea, it wasn't you. We took break while you were gone. Sorry.
I thought everyone was just playing a practical joke.
Yes, well, I wanted to, that's the obvious conclusion to leap to. But, yeah, so we ended the phase, and then,
Yeah, I heard something about stopping a waterfall.
yes, that's going to be, if we stop the waterfall, we'll be able to overcome the powers of the temple.
Excellent.
So,
How difficult can that be?
How difficult indeed. It should be fine.
well, don't you stop waterfalls all the time?
I don't, but um, but Jonah does.
I figured as much.
Yeah, this will be easy.
Okay. How's everybody doing?
All right.
Quick question while we're still sort of in break. Can anyone add a motif at any time, or is it just during certain things?
Nope. Anytime you want. Anytime you hear something that you like, you can go ahead and jot it down. The only limitation is if there's only if we have two details on a motif, and neither of them have echoed a previous one, then the detail you add has to echo a previous one. Basically, one of those three has to echo it, and if we haven't done that yet, we need to get it done. Other than that, you can just add whatever you want anytime.
I feel like we're covered for the second motif. I think that grasping his soul as it leaves his body echoes the black ichor spilling from his sword wound. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because it's like the same person. I can
We
see
never
that.
we never really defined what that ichor was either.
Oh, Interesting.
Right, I did sort of describe the soul as a black shadowy form.
Yeah, cool. I'll buy it.
I'm gonna just put shadowy right there.
Sweet. Okay, cool. What phase should we do next?
Yes, does anyone want to use their trick to
Oh
make
yeah.
Aaron do less work? No, because mine demands
I
a
wouldn't
rogue's
do
phase,
that.
and we just had a rogue's phase.
Well,
It's not. I
we
mean,
could
we
have another
could,
room
but
space.
I'm not. I'm not.
Yeah.
I think I just have to say when I want to use my thunder.
Oh
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. So the thunder part is when he's making the introduction, and then he's about to foreshadow something that could happen, and
Yes.
Hmm.
then you say, "No, you use my foreshadowing instead."
Can I do that right now?
Yeah,
Or do I wait?
I think we're gonna do a. Uh, Sounds like a perilous phase. We're gonna do a perilous phase. We'll wait for Velas to get back though, just to kick it off.
What could possibly be perilous about going up against a temple full of murderous priests?
Indeed.
Nothing. Nothing at all.
All
And
right.
he just got back.
Cool. Ready to go? So
Yeah.
we were just saying Andrea's gonna use her trick, which is an omen. So she set the thunder for this next phase, and I'm gonna make it a perilous phase. And so let me roll the overtone here. So I rolled glum overtone, and what kind of glum do I want to do? So entering this cliffside and heading into this temple, you can see that the sides are carved, and it seems like in a quite advanced way, the this tunnel has been carved out, and then stones of various color have been brought in to finish off the walls with these stone bricks. And as you head into the entrance, the tunnel quickly branches off in various directions, and in each direction, the stone takes on a different hue. One is a pinkish marble, and one is kind of looks like almost like jade. One is seems to be finished with gold bricks even. Yes.
Ooh.
And it's hard to tell which tunnel leads to the waterfall, but you can definitely hear this the splashing of water coming from some directions, kind of echoing around. And mixed in with the splashing is gentle weeping. Okay. And this thunder is
Maybe not appropriate.
as you wander deeper down these tunnels, um, your uh, your candles that you're using to provide light suddenly go out, and the you know, when you blow out a candle and it still smolders and smoke rises, this thick smoke continues rising from your candles, and it so quickly expands that it begins filling the tunnels that you're in, wall to wall, and even as you try to get a candle lit or something so you can see, you're choking and
My coffin
and
was in character, by the way.
yes, yes it was, uh, and you can't even see, even when you relight the candles, they continue, sputtering the smoke, and you can just barely see through this stuff. You can't even, make out the reflected light of your own candle. Uh, that is the thunder. So I will pass the dice to, let's see, pass the dice to, let's go back to Jonah, actually. I'm going to go right to you, Jonah. So you can feel free to roll these anytime you want, or hang on to them.
Well, what he's going to do right off is get down low to the ground, right, and try to like kind of put my face up against it and try to come into contact with the gods of the earth, to get a better idea of where the waterfall is.
Okay.
I'm going to try to move in that direction.
Your the elements seem to be betraying you here, because not only has your flame turned just smoking and choking, but as you lower your head to the ground, you can hear the splashing clearly coming from deeper down this tunnel, and also the water even is coming down the tunnel, and you realize that the side of your face is damp, and the water slowly starts rising and filling the tunnel now. Very, very slowly. It's just gets up to an inch and an inch and a half and 2 inches, and it's definitely coming for you. At the same time, this weeping grows louder, and a knife flies through the smoke and clatters against the wall, and then another one comes and actually strikes you, Layla. Sorry, is that right?
Lale.
Layla.
I'll
Lale,
answer
Lale.
anything with an L. It's fine.
Lale, yes, strikes you, Lale, right in the arm, and your pet Shireen suddenly lets out a screech, and it seems Shireen has also been struck, and the knives seem to be coming from both directions down the tunnel. Let's see.
All right. Clearly, what I'm doing is not working. We've got water. We've got water coming towards us. I'm going to.
Well, you know which direction the water's coming from for sure, but until you roll the dice, I get to keep making things worse, basically.
Yeah, I actually find the smoke so irritating that I drop to my knees and throw up some of the bile that I had swallowed when I was eaten by a monster.
Nice.
All right. I definitely don't want things to get worse, so I've got to roll the dice here.
Okay.
That is glum 4/2.
All right, you're good to go.
All right. So I know which direction the water is coming from. I guess we've got to go in the other direction to regroup, right? It's still pretty dark in here, though, right?
Yeah, it's all smoky.
It's smoky.
Basically, you can barely see a couple of feet in front of you.
We can't see any kind of exit, though, can we?
I mean, it's a.
I feel like if we move,
you can definitely find a way out. You know which direction you came from.
right? I feel like if we go back just a little bit to get out of this immediate area, I think we'll be okay. So, but we're stumbling blindly, right? So we're kind of tripping over things, running into walls a little bit, but we do manage to crawl away. And then
Okay.
I hand the dice to somebody.
Yep. You can to end the phase. You can hand it to me, or to continue it, you can hand it to anybody else, and I'll continue to bring the storm.
Yeah, I'm still on the ground, and I just groan. This is not my day. Lost my wine. I've lost my lunch.
Indeed.
Just pray you don't lose your soul. Oh, sorry, I'm not the overplayer.
I can imagine Oshala saying something.
Yeah. That's true.
So, okay. So, you wander back out, and you're stumbling blindly, and you get to a place where the water's kind of spreading out in the tunnel and staying shallow. And you get out of the thickest of the smoke, even though it still seems to follow you. But with so little light, you stumble upon a trap, a hidden tile. One of these golden floor tiles seems to be loose, and as you step on it, it rattles, and sudden plants grow, shoot out of the ceiling and the sides of this tunnel, and they wrap around you and grab you and hold you tied in place. And at this point, a priest approaches from either side, from both in front and from behind, and goes and are you who has the dice right now, by the way? Did you pass them on? Okay, cool.
I can pass them on here, though. I don't know that. I feel like maybe somebody with a sword can help. Perhaps.
Okay.
That would be Chromis, or someone with a spell would be me.
Chromis.
Someone with a dragon would be Lele.
Lele also has a sword.
Oh, that's true.
Chromis, your sword was fairly handy getting out of that saliva beast, so I'll pass the dice to you.
Okay. So these priests approach from either side, and they have these knives in hand, but now they don't have to throw them. They simply slowly approach, and you can see the tears on their face as they walk up with their swords. And let's look. Oshala, they see that your hand is black with this bound spirit.
Yeah, I think the vines approach that part of the hand and wither, but they keep my elbow tightly bound, so I can't actually move it anywhere.
Yes.
And I struggle, and I shout out, "Chromis, I didn't forgive your debts before, but if you can swing that metal now."
If I do it now, you'll owe me one.
So
I say as I'm struggling to get the sword out of its scabbard.
I'll owe you two if you like. Just get us out of this if you can.
So we'll get 5 shares of the treasure?
5 shares?
So this priest, one priest approaches and is very interested in your hand, Oshala, and he's careful to avoid the hand and the wrist, but he grabs onto your arm, sort of your forearm, and brings this knife to bear around your wrist, and the spirit is writhing and trying to get out of the way, but it's of course bound to your hand. So he brings it and begins cutting in, and you know, cutting a circle
And at
around
this
your
point,
wrist.
I'm rolling.
Okay.
Oh, 6 glum. Cool. Um, I draw my sword, and all the remaining light goes out of this room. Everybody's in darkness, and I decapitate one of the sorcerers and kick the other one away from Oshala. And anywhere my sword touches, the life is just sucked out into my sword. Though no one can see this until I bring the light back.
Including the plants, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I'll hold on to the dice for now.
Okay. In the darkness, Lale, you hear a familiar voice. It is your sister, actually, Arzu. She seems to be talking to you, communicating you somehow. You're not quite sure, but it sounds like she's standing right in front of you in the darkness. She says, you have finally arrived. I'm so glad you're here, Lale. I've been trying so hard to get you to come, and here you are. And at this point, a glow comes from down the hall. It is a glowing light, sort of a glowing orb, floating down the hall. And as it comes up to you, standing in this dark tunnel over the corpses of these priests, it transforms into the shape of your sister, Arzu. She says, "Listen, work with me, Lale. Put our differences behind us. You have brought such lovely sacrifices for me, and with their power, you and me could rule over this whole jungle."
As soon as I see Arzu, I'm trying really hard not to get noticed. I hope she doesn't recognize me.
Yes, yes. The
I'm going to pass my dice to Lale, though.
Okay. The rest of you actually are suddenly accosted by another one of these little kind of gibbons or monkeys or whatever they are. The things with the sharp teeth.
Again.
Only this time it's rather than shouting and screaming at you and attacking you, it simply comes up and Jonah, this monkey comes up and reaches up and grabs onto your hand and sort of tugs you along and tries to bring you down the tunnel away from Arzu. And you realize, yeah.
I would resist, kind of try to get my hand back.
Okay. It just keeps coming up and like grabbing and tugging at your pant leg and trying to get you to come.
How big is this thing?
And it's only about half your height at most. You could easily overpower it, it seems. But it seems quite insistent. And you realize that just behind it, it's trying to get you to follow it down the tunnel. And you can see one of these, in the glow from that Arzu brings with her. You can kind of see these golden walls and the golden floor, and there's more of these trapped tiles that are just slightly askew in the floor there. And it seems this monkey is trying to drag you across them.
It looks like real gold, though, right?
It looks I mean, it shines like real gold. I don't know.
I'm gonna run ahead of Jonah. The gold sparkling in my eyes, and
Alright.
I immediately fall into the first trap I encounter while Lala is confronting her sister.
Wonderful. So Arzu completely ignores all of you. She seems secure that you are no threat to her. And she simply focuses on Lale. And as you step on this trap, the tile sinks in, and all the tiles around it sink into the floor, and then all the tiles around them also sink. And you are drawn down into even deeper darkness. And you fall for several seconds and then splash into water. And you find yourself suddenly at swimming in this small underground lake. And there seems to be some kind of fungus, or perhaps it's just bacteria in the water that's glowing. It's kind of swirling around in the water around you and providing some light to see by. But other than that, you can't really make out what the cavern itself looks like.
I'm going to roll.
Okay.
And I have 2 twos. You're going to have to remind me what that means. 2 twos.
Okay. So first of all, it's a stymie because it's you roll doubles. So in a perilous phase, basically you make the foe look really good. They're like super clever or really tough or something like that. Basically, you don't get to overcome what they're doing. They get the better of you somehow. Also, because they're both less than 3, it's a mystery. So the reason that you're stymied, the reason that you can't do what you want to do, there's some supernatural element to it that you don't know what the cause is exactly. So you're going to have to write down, a question about that.
Or you
Okay.
could use one of your feats heroic if you wanted to not be stymied.
That is
no.
true.
Oh no, this is much more entertaining.
Good.
Okay. So Lale, begins to put on the big heroic, at what cost are you intending to seize power here? Blah 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
And her.
Why, at the cost of your friends' souls, of course.
That's all. No big deal.
Yeah. Give me this one.
Isn't that why you led them here?
No, of course it isn't. And she moves her weapon out, and Anzu just kind of reaches forward and gently touches her forehead, and Lale just sort of faints dead away. And now I need to come up with a question.
Awesome.
What's your sister doing here?
I think we know what she's doing there. Evil.
Well, how did she come here, I suppose? So the other thing, whenever you roll a tie or doubles, I mean, is the overtone flip. So now it's jovial.
Oh, good. So I think I'm going to put for my question, Since Anzu is there sort of in this like ghostly form, what power does Anzu hold over Lale?
Oh,
Whose name I
so
forgot how to spell.
her name is Anzu or Arzu?
Arzu, probably. Arzu, yes.
Arzu, okay. That's what I thought.
In my complicated names. Okay.
Nice. Okay. Then you
Yeah,
can,
so now that it's Stropio, you can like hear laughing from beneath the floor where I'm trapped in that lake, because I'm like, finally I can clean that sludge shit off of me. That's what I shout.
Awesome. Yeah, so Andrea, you're picking up the dice. You
Yep.
can hold on to them or pass them as you see fit.
Yep.
And I will continue. So Lale has fainted, and let's see, we have Shala and Jonah as well. So Oshala Arzu next turns her attention to you, and once again you can feel the tendrils of mind control coming into your brain. But you recognize it early enough that you can respond this time, and
Well, yes, um the uh the um the she tries to make eye contact with me, and I've seen this happen before when the other sorcerer made eye contact with me, and so even though I cannot actually move my hand because we've established it's bound at the elbow by those vines, I actually retract. It looks as if my one finger melts into my hand, and as it does, my eyes glaze over with the same impenetrable blackness. But you can still see that I'm concentrating very hard to resist this, and I say, "Not this time. My mind is my own."
all right. And Jonah, her mind control failing, Arzu steps forward and she holds no weapon in her hand. Nevertheless, she thrusts and swipes, and you can feel yourself being pushed backwards and pushed backwards towards the edge of this hole, where uh, where Chromis fell. Yes.
I think I'm going to give the dice to Oshala at this point.
Okay. And Chromis, you can you can feel something is in the water. Something is, occasionally brushing past your legs and stirring up some of this fungus or whatever, this glowing stuff in the water. And so you can sort of vaguely track where this thing is swimming around, and it occasionally comes up and brushes against you. And
this underground lake is like deeper than my feet can touch, right?
yes, yeah, you're having to, when you fell in, you fell quite far, and you didn't even touch the bottom as you fell, and now you're just having to swim around. But you might be able to, if you held your breath for a time and swam down, you might be able to reach the bottom. There's no clear entrance, but you can hear trickling water, and further off, you can hear the vague splashing of the waterfall somewhere above you. And let's see.
I'm gonna roll the dice.
Okay, go.
I'm gonna roll the dice to stop you from making it any worse. All right. I got a 6 and a 2. Glum is first. So
Okay, let's go.
so I got Glum. And the as Jonas is backing up towards the open hole, being backed up there by Arzu, he stumbles just momentarily over another one of these tiles. This one much smaller, but what it does is it cuts off the plants that have been holding me. It cuts them off right as they sprout from the walls, and so I collapse to the ground, and where my hand reaches a brick, I caress it with my fingertips, and I whisper to it, "You've waited too long for vengeance, old friend. They have used you for their own ends for too long. Now fly and do as you will." And the power of the soul that was trapped in this brick flies out and, like a dagger, embeds itself in Arzu's back. And I'm going to hand the dice back to the overplayer.
Okay, cool. Nice. Nicely done.
And we only have one more motif to fill.
Okay, cool. Solacing Vengeance. Okay. Do those. See. I think at least one of those echoes, the soul echoes the cool grasping his soul as it leaves his body.
Yeah.
So any motif will do. So let me explain how the end game works real quick before we do the thing. We're going to continue doing phases as normal. Actually, let me get up real quick. End game. Okay. Plays before, but this time when you roll the dice, you have the option to reincorporate a thread into your narration. So that's a moment where you take what has been marked before and recall it, making it a larger part of the story. And if you roll a new thread, like a mystery or a moral, you can ignore that and reincorporate a thread instead of doing that thing. And once a rogue player reincorporates a thread, then they can no longer receive the dice. So they're still part of the story, but they don't get the dice anymore. And once everybody except the last person has reincorporated something, either a motif, a mystery, or a moral, then the game's over. Or optionally, if we feel like the story, we need to wrap up the story a little more, the last person who didn't get to reincorporate something can do a quick epilogue. But so that's the mode we'll go into once somebody does the last motif there. Okay. Now I want to do a discovery phase next. So this is where you get to say something that you just learned, or something you know, and then ask me a leading question about it, and I have to answer you. So before the phase starts, I'm going to roll a overtone here, and I rolled glum. So you find yourselves emerging from this underground lake up into the the waterfall chamber in the middle of the temple, and all of the some of the priests are actually standing around as you emerge and pull yourself up in this shallow pool where the waterfall is splashing. And it's quite dark around there. There's just a few candles here illuminating where the priests are standing. It seems to be nighttime outside as you look up to where the waterfall is coming in from the roof of the temple. Almost no light comes in from the opening. And the priests begin their chanting again. But they don't seem quite as hostile as before. They're not attacking you directly, but they're just ominously chanting all around you. I'm gonna pick up the dice there, and I'm gonna pass them to, let's see, who hasn't had a chance recently? Let's go with Chromis.
Okay.
Oh. So you roll the dice immediately and say something you know or that you just discovered and ask a question about it.
Oh, I got another mystery.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got stymied with tie below 3.
Has rolled during a discovery phase. You can reveal what the rogue should have known or noticed, but failed to. However,
Okay.
players still asked a loaded question, but the answer is known only to the rogue players and not the rogues. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention. Whenever there's a tie, a stymie, the situation is supposed to escalate. And I think I forgot to do that. But in any case, I'll make sure the situation escalates.
Thanks,
Oh,
Aaron.
and the overtone flips as well.
Glad you remembered that one.
just in time. So what should you have known, or what should you have noticed? But
So we
to?
just arrived at the base of the waterfall. And what were they doing?
They're standing around, holding candles and chanting.
Yeah, let's just go with the obvious ripped off from the book, from the rules one. And we didn't notice that the chanting has ceased, and they are pointing the high priest-looking one, wearing the most ceremonial headdress, of course, is pointing his ritualistic dagger directly towards me. And my question, which I suppose is a good question for why do they want my soul in particular?
Mm-hmm.
And that one I think can work as for the mystery as well, since I rolled a mystery.
Yeah, sounds good. It makes sense. They want your soul, and the beast in the jungle tried to eat you specifically. Because your let's see. You have a some connection to the spirit world, and they think that through you they can summon forth even more souls, even souls that have moved on. They can bring them back and work their rituals on them. But they require your soul to do so. Okay.
It's just not my day.
Isn't it nice to be wanted?
Okay, and then this phase, it's up to me when I want to end it, but I say continue on. So you just hand the dice to a different rogue player, and they roll immediately.
All right. I will hand it directly to Shala.
All right. And I will roll. Okay. Glum for 5. The chanting has stopped. We didn't notice that, but we and you said we're in the chamber that the waterfall flows into.
Yes.
And so I'm there treading water, trying to work my way over towards the edge of the large chamber. So essentially, I can release some more of the bound souls against these priests. It worked so well the last time. And as I'm trying to swim in that direction, I notice a current in the water, and ducking my head under the water, I can see that there's actually a grate in the bottom. That water is actually being drawn from here, and there must be some sort of pump or something that feeds the top of the waterfall. My question is, how can this potent device be turned to the ends of ruining the temple itself?
It would take if you could block it up somehow with some amount of material, and it would take a considerable amount, but perhaps perhaps all the leaves and the foliage on their headdresses, or perhaps the all of your clothing and gear and stuff could stop it up. And if you blocked it, then the energy of the pump would have to go somewhere. It would probably tear this room apart, if not bring the whole temple down.
Okay.
Do we all know that, or is it just that character?
I mean, it's up to Michael if he wants to keep that secret to himself or let everybody know.
So initially, just to that character, then.
Sure.
Yeah. So slowly, one by one, as everyone makes their awareness, I'll try to alert. I will alert the rest of my fellows without letting the priests know that if we stop up the drain, we'll be able to flush the entire temple down the side of the mountain.
Cool. You can definitely whisper that.
Yes.
All right, pass the dice.
I will pass the dice to Andrea.
Excellent. I'm adding the last motif, you guys.
Oh,
we're in endgame now.
cool.
I like it.
Oh, very nice.
I kind of feel like we should have been maybe announcing these to the audience, but Too late now.
Yes,
Yeah.
next time I
Well,
play.
I'll do it now, actually. Why don't we go
Okay.
through them real quick? So we have a plunging a sword through the back of a beast's throat, black ichor spilling from a sword wound, and scrying through the splashes of a waterfall. Our second motif is grasp his shadowy soul as it leaves his body, glyphs carved upon the stone wall, and a sword blade drinking the spark of life with but the slightest touch. And our third motif is finally I can wash the saliva off. A soul seeking vengeance, and a whispered plan. All right, so we'll continue, and now when rogue players roll the dice, they have the option to reincorporate a thread. You can reincorporate a motif by obviously by describing something similar or recalling that kind of image. You can reincorporate a mystery by solving the mystery or by advancing them with new questions. And we don't have any morals, but just for reference,
Well, yeah, we're rogues.
any morals, you could demonstrate how your rogue has learned the lesson or how your rogue teaches the lesson to someone else. Or alternatively, how your rogue will never learn this lesson. Okay, so carry on.
I think you're carrying on.
So Andrea, you
I just got the dice.
you got
Right,
the
you
dice,
have
so
the
go
dice.
and roll it up.
I got 5 jovial, which is new for me. Okay, so we know she's not too keen on stripping and leaving all of her worldly possessions in a pool, hoping to cause a cataclysmic explosion. So she says, "Very well, then I will get you those headdresses," and unsheathes her blade and boldly, stupidly, there's a series of ledges that kind of go down the face that we're on, and she kind of leaps from one to the next until she lands in the circle of the priests. And with a mighty battle cry, begins to attack them. So I need a leading question, right?
Well, this is still the discovery phase, so what's something you notice or you just found out as well? And then ask a question about that.
Something I noticed or just found out. So as she goes to hack off the head of the nearest priest, her sword goes through as though there's no substance, and it kind of the image of the priest kind of wavers, but it remains there. So where are the actual priests?
Ah, yes. So the priests, with their soul magic, have unbound their souls, and you realize that it's just the shadowy forms of their souls are standing around, holding their knives. The actual priests are their bodies are somehow safely hidden away in various rooms of the temple, and you can just vaguely see kind of in the candlelight you can almost make out the shadowy connection leading off into the darkness to wherever, various directions where their bodies are hidden. Yeah, cool.
Fancy.
So let's end the phase there and start a new phase. This is gonna be a
This is going to
Perilous
be a
phase.
rogues phase
Oh dear.
because I said so. Because my trick is adroit, whatever it is.
I was hoping it
Adroit
was a
prowess.
rogue's phase anyway.
Yes. So it's a rogues phase. It's going to start. You're going to make a demand of me, which has something to do with the fact that magical beings innately treat me as a being worthy of respect.
Oh, nice. Very nice. Okay, rogue's phase. I'm gonna roll the overtone, and turns out it's Glum with a 4. So it is still dark. It is still. Let's see. Hmm. Eerie and chilling. Yes. Okay. I will hand the dice to you, Michael,
All right.
and show us how. Oh, sorry. I need to set the scene and introduce the thunder.
Yes.
So the priest's souls um, are lie defeated and strewn about their temple, and their the connections to their bodies have all been severed. And I have the feeling that let's see, Chromis has gathered up as many gold bricks from the walls as he can carry,
Oh
and
yes,
various
definitely.
other jewels and valuables from the temple, and perhaps the rest of you as well. And as you're uh, as you're making ready to leave, um, let's see, show us, Oshala, how the soul of Arzu, who is Lale's sister, has stuck around, and show us how she convinces you to uh, to at least um, help her acquire some more souls. If not those of your friends, perhaps somebody else. But she says you probably you're worthy of respect. You probably know where to get some souls and help me out.
Okay. Um,
So roll the dice immediately as well,
right.
and answer in that tone.
Okay. Glum 6. Um, so, Arzu uh, appears out of um, the dust of the crumbling temple, and um, uh, uh, supplicates herself before me, and says, "Oh, great hexed one, um, I I beseech of you, uh, I beg of you, I supplicate myself before you. Um, how am I to continue to feed on souls? For if I do not feed on the souls of others, I will be forced to feed on the soul of my sister. And there is nothing I would not do to avoid that fate." Um, Out of character, I'm reincorporating the mystery of what power does Arzu hold over Lale.
Nice.
Um, um, So in my picture I have the necklace with the symbol of the Order of the Unblinking Flame.
Cool.
So I take the necklace off, and I say, if you are to sate your hunger um, with any, it should be those who were not worthy of their souls to begin with. And so I give you this talisman that will empower you to ignore their wards, bat aside their spells, and slowly devour their souls from within for all the days of Lale's life. And I place it around the neck of Arzu, who then bows to me, bows to her sister, and then her her shadowy form takes off on the wind.
Aw.
So, and
Cool.
I'm going to hand the dice to Chromis.
Oh.
And, as far as dice goes,
Yep.
right? Because I've reincorporated, right?
Yes. So you can no longer receive the dice, but you're still part of the story.
Right.
If you want to contribute, and go ahead and make a demand of Chromis.
Oh, right. Yes. So, Chromis, show us just how it is that you managed to get a king's ransom down through the impassable rainforest in all these gold bricks.
Oh. You've established that we've left the temple, right? Or that
Yeah,
was
or at
still
least
showing?
yeah.
Go ahead and roll the dice first as well for your
Yeah.
tone.
Oh, I've got a moral now.
Oh,
I
okay.
got
So
stymied and I have a moral. Stymied on the road fades was like I reversed the demand.
yeah, basically, and stymie is that it would be a mystery, but you can actually ignore the mystery and reincorporate something instead if you want, or you can make a new mystery.
Well, I got a
Stymie.
moral. I got a 2 and a 1.
Oh, 2 and a 1. Okay, so it's not a stymie then.
Oh, right. It's just a
Yeah,
moral.
it's just a moral. So there'll be some unintended consequence for what you do.
Yeah.
Or you can reincorporate something instead.
Unintended consequence. Let's see. Take a moment. Um, well, I say to Lawless Dragon, I go over to the dragon and I say, look, you haven't gotten a share of treasure yet. I'll give you a share if you take flight and find where the underground lake empties out to. And of course, I mean, is that fine with you, Andrea? If
Yep, except I had established it can't fly, but what it could do is it's more like a flying squirrel where it could like hop from tree to tree
okay, yeah,
and kind of glide around. But that's same thing, it works.
yeah. So it does so. It glides around and returns and tells me, and not the others, because I'm offering one of my shares. Where the underground lake empties out into. So during the night, as we camp outside the temple, because we've been traversing this jungle for days and we needed some time to rest, I sneak off with all of the treasure to where your dragon let me know, and send it off on a makeshift raft. And the moral is, of course, well, I should probably hear the unintended consequence first.
Yeah. Hmm.
I think I know what the consequence is, though.
Oh, well, go ahead if you have an idea. Go for it.
Gold Saints.
Yeah,
Oh, no.
the makeshift raft doesn't make much shift.
Yes. And I would say not only do you lose your shares of the treasure somewhere down this river, but everyone else discovers your treachery. And so once again, you are in everybody else's debt for losing.
That's great.
That's how it happened the first time too.
Yeah. Again?
Gold Saints or
Easy come, easy go.
yeah, easy come, easy go is good.
Nice.
Especially since it's a little bit ironic.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'll pass the dice over to
You have to ask a question of somebody, don't you?
yeah.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of which question I want to ask of who, so
Yeah, that's the tough part.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'll pass it over to Jonah, and I'll demand show us how you worked this failed adventure into your sermons back in the city we came from.
So I roll, right?
Yes. Roll right away.
Oops. Got one. Oh, 5 glum. 4 jovial.
Okay.
All right. It was about the trapped souls and how we were never able to release them. See, we tried diverting the river so that it wouldn't feed the falls, but it seemed to be in such a place and perhaps to be favored by such a power that it always diverted back to the same spot.
Hmm.
And I use that as a lesson in just see if I can tie this to anything.
Yeah, you could maybe reincorporate a motif. And actually, I forgot this bit about when you reincorporate a motif, you can take 2 of the elements of the motif and combine them to make a new element. So maybe one of these motifs with souls and stuff would be appropriate there.
Yeah, I'm not. It's not really resonating.
Okay.
I was kind of thinking the glyphs could come back into it though, and I could
Maybe you could carve a
you
warning
read them.
or something.
into the sermon that there were some glyphs that I didn't understand at the time, but I later came to understand as as a sort of method to the madness that we encountered. Um, so the lesson of the sermon, of course, is that
Hmm.
there's always some underlying reason to uh, apparent chance.
Nice.
Um,
The gods have a plan, you might say.
yeah, there you go. So is that a moral? Is that a moral or
Oh no, it's
corporation?
just
Um,
Do we
yeah,
do,
well, you
do we
didn't
do
have
that?
to make one necessarily, but
Right.
um, and you didn't really reincorporate anything yet, but that's fine. You don't have to. Uh, so just wait. You can wait for your moment to reincorporate something. Um, so in the meantime,
I
go.
thought he was trying to reincorporate the glyphs.
Yeah,
Oh, the glyphs. Oh, that's true. Yeah, the glyphs and the soul leaving uh, leaving his body.
so you reincorporated a thread, one
Okay.
of the motifs.
Yeah, the motifs. Okay, that works. Um, did everybody reincorporate except one person now?
I think it's me and Fellas.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
I haven't either. So
Okay,
Andrea.
let's I'm gonna request we end the phase here, the rogues phase.
Okay.
Move on to another phase. I want this to be uh actually let's do another rogues phase. Okay. I'm gonna roll for the overtone. I rolled doubles, which means that the overtone just is the opposite of the last one we did. Um, in this rogues phase, the you make it back to quote unquote civilization, back to a large town, uh, sort of at the edge of this rainforest where large areas have been cleared for agriculture and a big town has gathered. This is kind of like right on the frontier of this rainforest where you first heard the rumors about this big temple. And the locals here seem to keep their distance from you and give you some respect, especially as you're carrying weapons and uh, you seem to not be bound to anything as they are in their society. And um, in fact, most of the locals want nothing to do with you and refuse to deal with you or take your gold or anything. Uh, so they run from the sight of you. So I'll pick up the dice, and I will make a demand of Oshala. How do you, or show us how you? Uh,
I
You
thought
can't give me
Oshala.
the dice anymore.
Yeah.
oh, my bad, my bad.
Right,
Uh,
you can only give them to Lele or
oh,
Chromus.
Jonah. Oh, Chromus. Okay, cool. So fine then.
Fine.
No, they don't
Chromus.
want the dice. But the rules say.
Chromus, show us. Show us. Show us how you received word of the barbarian Edison tracking you into town.
Yeah. I received words.
Oh, and roll for it as well.
Yeah. Well, by assist. So, in the shadowy night, I am awoken from my cot in the flop house that I was sleeping in, with a knife to my neck. It is, of course, Edison's second in command.
Watson.
Yeah. What name was it? Sorry.
Watson.
Watson.
History joke.
Yeah, and Watson has the knife to my neck and says, "You've got some debts to pay off." And that's how I received words. And I think that's reincorporating that I never learned my lesson. Easy come, easy go.
Yeah. Get in line. He's got debts to everybody.
So I'm passing the dice over to Lava with that.
Well, actually, so everybody except for one has reincorporated their stuff.
Yes, so Lava gets an epilogue.
Yeah, well, it's actually the end. Although, if you want to, if you feel like you want to wrap it up, you can do a brief epilogue by rolling the dice and narrating in that tone. And you can just ignore any stymies or anything.
I totally want to wrap this up.
Seems like you need a little bit of resolution.
Well, it's not going to. I have a plan, though. 3-4 glum.
Okay.
4-3 glum, something like that. So, time carries on, as it does for our merry little band of adventurers. And one night, nothing especially odd has been happening. We go on our little adventures, we make money, somebody loses the money for us. Yeah. And then one night, it's right before the dawn, and Lale's silhouette is kind of creeping down the hall, and she steps into the sputtering flame of a candle outside she steps into somebody's room, and there's a sputtering flame of, a candle kind of giving out its last gasp before the morning. And she's wearing her night clothes, and it bears her chest. And on her chest, there's the perfect kind of red shape of the pendant of the unblinking flame.
Oh.
And she creeps over to the form on the bed and raises a very wicked-looking black dagger that we hadn't seen before. And we'll leave it there.
Nice. With another knife to the throat.
Yes, it was a motif without being a motif.
Yeah.
Indeed. Okay, that's it. Thanks for helping me tell that story, guys. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So I hope that's a useful actual play for people learning the game as well. So thanks for letting me record this session. I guess stick around and we can discuss what went well and what went poorly and what we think. But thanks, guys.